Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. A little while ago, somebody emailed me, asked me for advice about how to get a good deal on insurance. And I simply said rather than dealing with an individual company like State Farm or Progressive, that it's maybe smarter to go to a broker who can shop the best price or go to Select Quote. And he thanked me and he says, "Wow, that was really useful. I would guess that you have a whole book's worth of stuff, the financial advice you could give, and you'd sell 1,000,000 copies." And I email him back and I say, I think everything that a person really needs to know could be said far more briefly. And because I'm not trying to hawk anything, I'm selling a book or consultancy or whatever, I thought I would take a shot at creating a little video here that in maybe 5 minutes, I don't know, just off the top of my head, telling you everything I think you need to know about money. Of course, I'll leave out stuff, but let's see if it's at least you're going to get your 5 minutes worth. The world's shortest course in money. Okay, of course, the biggest thing we spend on is our house, our housing. And if you're in the house buying market, you really pay a huge price for prestige. The difference in cost between a marginally acceptable neighborhood and a Tony elite neighborhood, it can be $500,000, $1,000,000. And that single decision to learn to live with a tiny different increase in crime rate, which is really all you're talking about, and doing a little more shopping to get the right public school. If you're talking about public schools for your kids, very often you can get an inter-district transfer. You can save a fortune, and that single decision can make all the difference between financial insecurity and financial security. If you're a renter, if you just rely on the open market, you're likely to get a bad deal. The best deals usually get taken before something ever gets on the market, and in fact, the really best deals are from people who weren't even planning to rent. My first place in when I came to California, in Berkeley, one of the most expensive places in the world to live, I simply put up little flyers on telephone poles in nice areas that were near the Berkeley campus, simply saying that I was looking for an inexpensive place to rent and I'm a reliable, responsible, quiet graduate student. And I got a response and ended up living for what is in today's dollars $450 a month, sharing a house with an older woman who was lonely, and 86-year-old woman, name was Alice Miller, and she was happy to have me. And she happened to have a piano there in addition. It was a gorgeous house on top of a hill in the nicest area of Berkeley. So key to renting, but also in general, is to avoid the public market, the ad that's out there. Now, of course, there can be good ads on Craigslist for used things and whatever. But for big ticket items, it's smart to see if you can get something off the market, or at least, and now, when I think about Craigslist, I think about cars. It's old news, but it's really true. That the smartest thing you could do is, rather than buying a new car every half dozen years, let alone a new, status mobile, like a BMW or a Mercedes or a Jaguar or a Saab or any of those, to buy a 3 to 5 year old Toyota, because Toyotas last longer, they need far less maintenance, and they cost a hell of a lot less. That single thing, in addition to getting housing intelligently, keeping that kind of car, that 3 to 5 year old Toyota, until it drops, and I've had my whole life I've had them, and they last 250, 300,000. I just got rid of my last 2004 Prius that had 300,000 miles on it. It was running perfectly. My wife got sick and tired of me having the old car. If you do that over your life, between the housing decision and the car decision, buying them that way, you've saved a fortune, more than most people make in many years. Then after that, I guess the next most important thing is your other purchases. And again, that phrase I use, status is the enemy of contentment. When people spend $100, let alone $300 on a pair of jeans, or even $500 or $800 on a pair of Jimmy Choo shoes, or whatever those brand names are, those designer labels, one time is not going to kill you, but that becomes a lifestyle. And you feel you do it because you want to keep up with the Joneses, you want to signal to a certain shallow segment of the population that you are with it, that you are a success. But real successful people don't do that. They don't need to signal that way. And in fact, really successful people look at people who have Coach purses and as I said, the aforementioned Jaguars or whatever, and Facanable shirts and all the rest of it, they look askance at them. They say, this person doesn't have a lot of good judgment. That person is emphasizing sizzle over steak. So that's a really good general principle. You know, that $200 pair, I'm picking example after example of sneakers that are so heavily advertised, like for Nike, which costs $200, will make you no better a basketball player than the $20 a pair you can get at Walmart or Target. No need, and the real big disadvantage of overspending on that stuff is it generally restricts your options in terms of the kind of job you can take. If you need to buy all that stuff, the really kind of fun, enjoyable jobs that many people prefer, like creative jobs, like writer or radio talk show host, or in working in fashion or whatever, they tend to not pay well because a million people want to do it. And if you're not spending on that stuff, I mean, I'll just give you an example. This is just off the top of my head. I bought these glasses online for $39. People spend $200, $300, $400 on a pair of glasses because they have a designer label and they go to the local store. The sweater I got online for $35, $39, I don't remember, from a company called Woolovers. Great company. And I'm always looking, whenever I buy online, I look for a coupon. I think I got a $5 off or free shipping coupon as well. This is a $20 shirt that I got at Walmart, or $15. It looks it's just about as good. The watch I'm wearing is a Casio. It keeps absolutely as good time as a fancy watch. And in fact, it uses the same quartz movement, basically 2 seconds, within, I think, 2 seconds a month. The point is that individually, as I said, those kind of purchases don't matter at all. But collectively, it has brought me so much freedom and security that I'm able to do what I want, career-wise and avocationally. I'm not worrying about money. I've made like 100 of these videos now. If I were worried about my next dollar, I wouldn't have a chance to do it. Yet this feels very contributory. It feels like it's a useful thing for me to do. So please think in terms of those terms. Now, in terms of money. Investments. I think this is the last thing I want to talk about. You know, I know this is sounding simplistic, but for most people, and I'm not a financial advisor, I don't want you to sue me or whatever, but for most people, even expert financial advisors tell me that the simplest thing you could do is put all your money into a Vanguard all-in-one fund. There are a few of them. They're a blend of stocks and bonds, international and domestic, large and small caps. You don't even need to know those words. Vanguard all-in-one funds, they come from higher risk but higher potential return to lower risk and probable lower rate of return. And they have the lowest expenses of all. They are considered the good guys. You try to beat the stock market, you're really playing, a lottery game. So I encourage you to do your investing as much as possible in Vanguard all-in-one fund, which you can simply Google and find it. And also, of course, it's axiomatic that you want to do your investing as much as possible using tax-deferred vehicles like a 401k or an IRA, a SEP IRA, whatever, depending upon your situation. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but that simple advice is so much superior to what most people end up doing that I certainly commend it to you, and as if to cover my legal butt. Do speak to your financial advisor, but he or she's got a vested interest in selling you products that have a higher margin or charging you a fee. I think start with Vanguard, talk to them, and see where that takes you. Okay, so that's my summary. Those are my thoughts about housing, about cars, about general purchases like clothing and stuff like that, and the general principle of avoiding designer labels, and investing, starting with Vanguard, certainly using tax-deferred vehicles like 401ks and IRAs as much as possible. And so that may be the world's shortest course in money management. I hope that helps. I'm Marty Nemko.